Do you want to start, G?
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh!
Oh! What? I like your tee, by the way.
My what?
Your t-shirt.
Oh, it's the Idols one.
Oh.
The cover of Ultra Mono.
Two friends just made a podcast. Two good friends just made a podcast. Two friends just made a podcast. It's called Culture Bucket. Two friends just made a podcast. Two good friends just made a podcast. Two friends just made a podcast. Culture Bucket, Georgia and Alex.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Culture Bucket, the world's premiere pop culture discussion podcast. You heard it here first. You are joining us for episode number 32.
Yeah.
And I am George, your host, as always, and with me is your other host, my co-host, Alex. Hi, Alex.
Hi, George. Hi, everyone. How are you
Hi,
today,
all.
George?
Today I am good. It's Sunday. It's been a slow day. I went to the supermarket. I watched The Sopranos, and I lost a video game, which was weird.
Like, you lost in a video game, or did you lose physically a video game?
No, I lost in a video game. I was playing a video game, and I died, and it started the game all over again. And I wasn't expecting that to happen. It was like an RPG. It was weird.
Did you go? Did you scream? You admitted a few episodes ago that you don't like losing. So.
Oh yeah,
Was
but
it-
no,
was it
not
hard?
against, because it was really odd. Because it's like it was just before we were recording, and I was like, oh, I need to stop playing so I can. So I rushed through a couple of conversations, and then very unexpectedly, it was like, oh, you made the wrong choice there. You have a heart attack and die. And then the credits came up, and I've only been playing the game for about 3 hours. No, an hour and a half. And then it just started the game at the beginning again. I was like, oh, that was weird. The game is called
What?
Disco Elysium for anyone listening, and it's incredibly weird. So, yeah.
But like, did you not have a safe zone that you can go back to?
No, because it's a bit like, you know those choose your own adventure books you used to get, where it'd be like turn to,
Yeah.
and then sometimes it'd be like turn to this page, and you turn to that page, it'd be like, oh, you died.
Mm-hmm.
Start again. It was like that. It was that kind of vibe. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I guess I'll start again on that one, but never mind. How are you today?
I'm great. I can smell the summer, which is very good. I'm I feel great.
What does the
Summer's
summer
good.
smell like?
The summer smells like sun.
What does the sun smell like?
The sun smells like happiness and joy and heat and holiday.
These are all very insubstantial smells.
I know. I don't know what I was saying. I don't know. It's a great day here in Italy. It's very hot, and it's nice. It's just nice not to, because it's been very cold here,
It was
like extremely cold
That's awful. I'm sorry.
until last week, and then suddenly it's like, yeah.
It's kind of getting warmer and warmer here, yeah, but I don't like the heat, so I'm getting more and more sad.
Yeah, I was, I think I need to move somewhere like Hawaii or the Canary Islands where the temperature is always like 24, 25.
No,
That's the perfect temperature.
absolutely not.
What are you talking about?
I don't like
That's
it.
the
I prefer
perfect
being
temp-
cold.
Oh no, I just need to be mild. I don't like being hot. I don't like being cold. I just want to be a mild.
But if you're a little
Like a
bit cold,
coma.
you can easily regulate your heat by putting on layers. But if you're too hot, there's nothing you can do.
You can peel off your skin.
No, you can't though. I've tried. It doesn't work.
Well, your little thing.
I'm having a drink. I'm having a drink.
Cool.
Okay. So
Culture
today,
catch up time.
Culture Bucket time.
Ah, no,
Today,
first, yeah.
today we are talking our top 5 thrillers, which is an interesting topic. It's very wide open. There's a range of films on my list. Is there a range of films on your list?
Yeah, yeah. I had to like go a little bit further because a lot of them were in the 90s. I feel like a
Yeah,
lot
yeah,
of
yeah.
good thrillers were in the 90s, so I had
Or-
to kind of just put one or two from the 90s because if not, it's just going to be like another top 5 90s films.
Yeah, I've got one from the 90s because it's like, for me, the best of the 90s thrillers. And then
It was a good era for thrillers, the 90s.
it was a great era for thrillers.
Mm.
Serial killer thrillers, psychological thrillers, all sorts of thrillers ruled
Yes.
the 90s. That's cool. So I'm excited about that. But first, of course, as you said, we have to do culture catch up. So let's do our regular culture catch up feature now.
This is culture catch-up time. This is where we talk about what we've watched, what we've read, what we've listened to, and probably some other stuff. Culture catch-up time.
Tell me what you've been catching.
Tell me what you've been catching. So, my main viewings this week were like I had to finish a RuPaul's Drag Race because season 13 has finished. Unfortunately, it was a great season. I loved it. There's a winner. I'm not going to spoil it. Watch it. It's an incredible season. It's political, it's inclusive, it's great. So watch RuPaul Drag Race. RuPaul's, I can't say it, I feel like an old lady when I say RuPaul. Watch RuPaul! Watch RuPaul's Drag Race because it's great. The finale wasn't as good as it used to be because we have social distancing and stuff. And so they can't do like the big grand finale that they did in the past, but it was good. It's a great show and I love it, and every time I finish it I'm sad because it's a good show. And then also finishing the Attack on Titan, the last season of Attack on Titan, and in true Attack on Titan style, I thought I watched the last episode and then I was like, this doesn't conclude anything, and that was part 1 of the last season. So I have to wait another 8 months for the second part of the last season.
So it's not so they've split it into 2 seasons basically.
They split it into 2 seasons and I was so sad because I thought I was going to finish it, and I told you that I wasn't convinced about the beginning of the last season. I was like, I liked being in the walls, but then it all happens and it's actually great. It's actually really, really good. However, I thought that it would be finishing and it's not finishing. And so I have to wait 8 months for the second part of the last season.
But it does mean
Which
that
is
you get
pretty-
more Attack on Titan.
I guess so, but my brain was ready for it to finish. Yeah. So remember when we watched Attack on Titan the first time, you
Yeah.
and I, and then they were like, and then, oh, this is the first season. And then in 12 months' time, you can have the second season. Or was it like 2 years? It took a
It
long
was
time.
so long, it was ridiculous. That's why I've not
And so,
watched it.
yeah, so you lost interest. I've watched all the seasons now twice because I always catch up every year, and then because I forget. But it's good, it's great. Attack on Titan, one of my favorite anime series, and it's fantastic. But yeah, so at the moment Adam Buxton is taking a break, so I went venturing to our other podcasts, and I found a podcast that is really fun. I don't know if you know it. It's called the Horne Section Podcast.
Oh, Alex Horne's podcast.
It's Alex Horne's podcast. So
I've never
I
listened
know
to it.
I know Alex Horne from Taskmaster. I think he's the creator of Taskmaster.
He absolutely is.
And I enjoy Taskmaster, and I thought I'm going to enjoy this. And yeah, it's a really fun podcast. So it's Alex Horne and a band. And every week and every other week they have a guest, and they do it's like a interesting interview, but there's lots of music. There are funny bits, like there's a really funny bit where everybody plays an instrument, And then Alex Horne says, okay, so if you haven't done this, or if you haven't eaten this, or if you haven't experienced this, you have to stop playing. And then so
Okay.
there's a full band, and then everybody stops playing. But it's just really, really fun. It's a really fun podcast. It's entertaining, it's musical, and it's just really good. It's called the Horne Section Podcast, and it's fun. And yeah, there was a really interesting guest in episode number 2, a comedian that I don't know because I live here. I'll tell you in 3 seconds who she is. I don't.
3, 2, 1.
Her name is Jess Robinson.
Oh, I don't know her.
She has an amazing voice, and she was really fun in the podcast. And it's just good. It's just a different way to do it, and it's fun.
Oh,
I
nice.
liked it. Yeah. So have a
Current,
listen to
side
that.
note, the current season of Taskmaster, season 11, is shaping up to be one of the best of all time.
Is it?
It is, and
Okay.
they had a task where they had to wrap themselves up in cling film, and Alex Horne made a point of ensuring that everyone knew it was biodegradable cling film, and then made a point about how responsible they try to be now.
Yes. Thank you, Alex Horne. You are amazing. I'm gonna start watching you again. But
But
yeah,
then he
it's
did,
a fun.
he did, yeah, no, yeah.
What did he
No,
do?
nothing.
Tell
I'm not going
me.
to talk. No, it's
Tell
fine. Don't worry
me.
about it. No, it
What
doesn't matter.
did he do?
He
George,
actually,
tell
no, it doesn't matter. Go on.
That you can't. No, you have to tell me.
It was. Do you know who Lee Mack is?
Yeah.
Yeah, Lee Mack's on it. It turns out I had no idea Lee Mack's a vegan. Did you know Lee Mack was
Yeah.
a vegan?
Yeah.
Because he was on Adam Buxton, wasn't he? I bet he talked
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
There was a task where he had to bite into things, and one of the things was an egg, and they accidentally gave him an egg. But Lee Mack seemed pretty fine with it. Just made a joke of it.
He's not really a vegan anymore. He's more of a vegetarian now.
Yeah, I got the impression that he was just sort of playing up for laughs kind of thing. But Alex Horne was very sincerely apologised in the studio bit.
Yeah.
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 Anyway.
Yes. Yeah. I guess you have to be kind of more, well, if you go on a show like that, you kind of need to be understandable. But yeah, Lee Mack is kind of a vegan vegetarian, and he does meditation, and he's that
I like him. I
really...
really like Lee Mack. He's a good. He's always
Did you
good
listen to
value.
the episode?
No, I will. I'm going to, but I haven't listened to it yet.
It's a good episode. So because I was so I've only watched the series I spoke about. So I've done mainly music listening because I'm back at work, back driving, and so got time to listen to music, which is fun.
Cool.
So I listened to an album by a British rapper called Slowthai. Or Slowthai.
Oh, Slowthai, yeah.
Slowthai, and I it just appeared on my Spotify, and the album is called Tyron. Reading about him, this is his second album.
Yep.
His first album is called
There's
Nothing Great About Britain.
Yep.
Yeah, and apparently he's really political and really kind of active.
He calls the Queen a rude word on the first song on that album.
Does he?
Yeah, he calls her a word that begins with a C.
A C?
Yeah.
Like caterpillar?
No.
No.
No, not caterpillar. The other rude word that begins with.
Oh, and I want to listen to the album, but I haven't. But is it? And,
except it has a skit on it that is the worst. He tells this story about when his dad took him to see a football match when he was a kid, and it's genuinely really funny, but it feels like it's about 2 minutes long, and then like the second or third time you've heard it, it loses its luster.
Oh.
But anyway, sorry, please continue.
No worries. And this album comes a year after. I didn't know anything about this guy, and it was released a year after he did a really he was really rude and horrible at the NME Awards.
Yeah, it was awful.
Yeah, and then but apparently he was really, really drunk and stuff, and then he had a hero award, and he decided to give it back, apologized, and so on this album kind of was released the same day as that NME Awards. I didn't know about that. So
Yeah, it was
was
with
he?
Catherine Ryan, wasn't it? It was he
Yeah.
kind of made a load of comments towards Catherine Ryan and was kind of being really gross. And then someone in the
Mm,
crowd, I think, called him a misogynist, and he tried to fight them. And it was just quite
yeah.
embarrassing and annoying because he'd sort of been
Yeah.
hailed as a pre that album. There's Nothing Great About Britain was really good, and they did a tour called the something for a fiver tour or something like that. And the whole point, he was playing like fairly big venues, and all the tickets were £5 because he wanted all his fans to be able to afford to go,
Mm,
and stuff like that, which was pretty good. And then it was kind of disappointing to have him. He was being built up as this kind of iconic figure very quickly, and it all seemed to
mm.
kind of fall apart at that Enemy Awards where he kind of publicly uh, shamed himself.
Yeah. But I think this, yeah, that's not good. But he apologized and he said he
Yeah,
was drunk. And I guess if you are put into stardom, I don't know what I would do. Like if I
I
got
don't know. I
drunk,
think yeah, I
if
think
everybody
it was a
like,
young man struggling to cope
yeah,
with a very very
yeah,
sudden rise to fame and getting it wrong, but doesn't
yeah,
mean that
because
he
we're so
should be
quick.
necessarily
Yeah,
permanently cancelled.
definitely. Yeah, because we're so quick to judge. But then at the end of the day, I've never been in that position, nor did you have you. And it's you're drunk and everybody's giving you everything, and maybe you're not even happy with yourself with the place you're going.
Mm.
But yeah, so the album I think is really good. Like it's got some good collaborations. It's got Skepta in it, ASAP Rocky, and then some James Blake that I know. The others I don't know, but is really good. The album is kind of divided in two parts, and you
Hmm.
can see the division in also in the titles, because in the titles one is all in caps and the other one has no caps, is all in little words,
Lowercase.
little lowercase, which I is something that really bothers me. I don't know if it's my age or because of my job, but like Ariana Grande's album is all lowercase, and it
Mm.
really bothers me. And this is the same, and I'm like, oh, but I have to, have to like kind of
It's called
stop.
art, Alex.
I know, but it's just I'm just like put some capitals, please.
No.
So I think it's a really good album. I really enjoyed it. It's definitely somebody to listen to, which is a Slowthai. And then the other day, you text me saying that Dissect is gonna do a podcast on a series on Psychodrama by Dave.
Yep.
So I listened to that again this week
Nice.
because I'm reading a book that I will talk about later, and I don't know, maybe because I was reading this book, which is about like this young black woman struggling and going into um, and the struggle of trying to go to psychotherapy, and listening to Dave, I just thought it was different this time. I already thought it was a great album, but now I think it's even more amazing what kind of artist Dave is, and
Mm.
what kind of songwriter, and the struggle that he's gone through. I just beautiful album. So
Oh,
thank you
it is.
for
Yeah.
reminding.
And
It's
it's not
I just
Dissect. It's like a spin-off of Dissect, isn't it? It's interesting.
yeah. It's
Cool.
not Dissect. It's a
It's called.
British Dissect.
Yeah, but it's branded. It's like in partnership with Dissect, but it's called Decode, and I think it's a British
Oh
person doing it. So I've not
yeah.
listened to it yet, but I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, because I want to. It's just a beautiful album, and I listened to it for quite a bit this week, and I just I don't know. It's an amazing album, and listen to it. I think we talked about it before. I think we talked about his performance
The
at the
Brits.
Brit
Yeah.
Awards, which was incredible. The album is amazing. It talks about his struggles, which is difficult to talk about your struggles, and it's difficult to talk about your struggles in the community you're in, depending on what the community you're in. And it's beautiful. And I did have a tear or two. And there's a song that I listened to twice, actually, one after the other, because I didn't remember. Sometimes you listen to an album and you're not really paying attention to it, and
Mm.
it's good, but this time I kind of really paid more attention to this album, and I think it's so good. Let me just find it, Dave. There's a song called Leslie, and it's about I don't know
Oh,
if you remember. And I listened to it I was like, I need to listen to it again. And I was really like emotional by the end. It's just a beautiful, beautiful album. And it's definitely like a top 5
Yeah, the
album.
first, because that song Leslie it's about 11 minutes long, isn't it? It's like an entire story.
Yeah.
First time I heard
Yeah.
that song, I was shopping in a supermarket, and the
Mm.
song came on, and I was finished my shopping and paid up and got to my car, and I had to just sit in my car for about 3 minutes doing nothing, just letting the song end before I could
Mm.
leave, because
Yeah.
I'd gotten so drawn into like the story. I think it's amazing. Yeah, that song is the highlight of the album for me. Great.
Yeah. It definitely is great. And I don't know. I think it's definitely an album that needs to be listened to again and again and again. And I really enjoyed it. And then the third album of, and that's Dave, Psychodrama by Dave. And then I listened to, again, Spotify just tells me to listen to stuff. And I listened to it.
Cool.
So the album, I listened to an album called Terra. Terra Firma by an Australian artist called Tash Sultana. And it's an amazing album. It starts really, they can play, I think, 20 instruments.
Wow.
They are a one human band. So they can do anything, and you can hear it in the album. So the album starts with this amazing instrumental, and is really like funky, and then the second track you hear their voice, and it's, I don't know, their voice is amazing. It's just beautiful and sultry, and it's good. And it's a really, really, really good album. And there's lots of instrumental moments. You can see how they are so musical and so talented. And they are only 25, which is amazing. But yeah, it's really, really good. Have you heard of Tash Sultana?
No, I honestly haven't. I'm surprised. No, I mean, I'm not surprised. That makes me sound like such an arrogant person.
I'm surprised, but you do know a lot, George, and I'm surprised when you don't know something. So, and
they sound great.
Yes, and they are great, and they write all of their songs. They have a little some collaborations, but it's mainly them playing all the instruments, doing all the singing. It's very personal. They were feeling very unsettled because they went after their first album, they went on a tour, and it was really kind of crazy. And then the pandemic started, and apparently this was kind of like in response to how they felt about it. And it's a beautiful album. Terra Firma by Tash Sultana. And I think they even have like Pitchfork probably gave them like a big number, which is amazing. Thank you, Pitchfork.
Nice.
But yeah, really, really good album. And then I'm back. I'm still reading, which is fun. Reading is fun, and I think once you get into the swing of it, it gets easier. Because I feel, I don't know. That's what I feel. And a couple of weeks ago, I talked about a book that I read by Rennie Edo Lodge, Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People about Race.
Yes.
And the reason I read this book was because Candice Carty Williams was on an episode of Adam Buxton, and she was talking about this book. And so I read that book first, and then I decided to read her book as well, which is called Queenie. And it's a book by, like I said, Candice Carty Williams. And it's a book about this Queenie. starts Queenie is a 25-year-old Jamaican British woman who lives in London, and she works at a national newspaper, but she can't really talk about what she wants to really talk about, and she has a very messy breakup, and after this breakup she has some really bad encounters with several men, which are not you question her decisions, and you throughout the book you go, what the hell are you doing? And then she finds therapy, and which is, and then she tries to become herself again in a way, and trying to figure out what is going on, what went wrong, and it's a it's a it's a it's really deceiving, this book, because it starts in a really kind of like, you go, in a really simple way, but then she's such a good writer that so those books that you can't put down,
Yeah.
and you actually feel emotionally drained by them.
Yeah.
That's how I felt with this book. Candice Carty Williams is so good at writing that I was just, I don't know, I felt really, really kind of down reading it, because Queenie does such bad things, and she just, you go, why are you doing it? And you are frustrated by her, but she's frustrated by herself as well, and the reason why everything goes wrong is something that kind of stemmed from the past, and she kind of realizes that by talking to people, because in her community, going to a therapist is kind of saying, is kind of bad, is not, is kind of frowned upon. And her grandma goes, why are you going to a therapist? What will people think? And in the end she goes because and it helps. I wasn't convinced I was going to like it. It just seemed a little bit too simple of a story for me. This girl breaks up with this guy, and then she goes in a whirlwind of like badness, but it is not. And it kind of reminded me a little bit of how I May Destroy You made me feel.
Right.
Like frustration and not liking this person because of what she was doing, but also at the end you understand, and it's just kind of like it's a full circle moment. You go, and you are experiencing with the book this, and it kind of reminded me of that a little bit. And I think she's a really, really great novel, and I wasn't expecting it to like it as much, and I wasn't expecting to just read it, because I haven't read a book like that in a long time. They're just kind of like, I don't know. It's just good. It's a good book. I enjoyed it. Queenie by Candice Carty Williams.
Nice.
And you can listen to her on Adam Buxton as well. Her interview is fun and good, and she seems like a great woman as well. So yeah, and that is it for my culture catch up this week. I hope it made all sense. How about you? What have you been up to, G?
So I've been up to mainly watching films to talk about this week, alongside continuing with The Sopranos, but there's not much to say there beyond I'm just continuing with that. I'm on season 2. It's pretty great. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah. So okay. So I watched a 2020 film on Netflix, and I think it's a Netflix movie, so everyone should be able to access it. I think, called The Block Island Sound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a science fiction horror thriller film written and directed by Kevin McManus and Matthew McManus, and it stars Chris Sheffield and Michaela McManus. So the McManus family appear to be all over this. Good for them. It's about a family who live on this island that I think is a real island somewhere in America, off the coast of, I think, off like the east coast of America somewhere called Block Island. And there's this young man who lives with his dad. His dad is waking up in the night and sleepwalking and going out on a boat and losing his memory, and nobody really knows why. The sister visits the island with her daughter because of something has been happening that's led to thousands of fish washing up on the shore of this island dead, like every day. And she works for sort of the environmental institution. So she's on the island to try and find out why this is happening. And it turns out that the dad's sort of bouts of insomnia and amnesia might be linked with whatever's causing the local wildlife to turn up dead. So it's a bit of a mystery film. It kind of it's very slowly paced. That's probably the biggest criticism of it, is that it's fairly slow. It's not full of action, but it does manage to give reasonably satisfying answers to the mysteries it sets up, which was something I really liked about it. The actor that plays the dad, what's he called? Called Jim Cummings? Is that the dad? Tom is a fisherman. No, so Neville Archambault, I think, plays the dad. He's an actor that I've never seen anything else before, but he has to do quite a lot of sinister things in this movie, and he really is kind of terrifying when he turns up at certain points and just kind of makes these horrible noises and groans and stuff, and he's really scary in it, which is great. And yeah, it kind of, I don't want to spoil it too much, but if you enjoy sort of slow-paced mystery thrillers, I would recommend checking out The Block Island Sound. It's pretty good, and it's only 97 minutes long, so it is a bit slow, but it's not that long overall. So yeah, that's worth checking out. I'd recommend it. The Block Island Sound. Then I watched a film from 2013. I watched this on Amazon. I think it was on Shudder in the UK, but it should be relatively available. 2013 movie produced by Blumhouse, the horror production studio. Directed by Scott Stewart and starring Kerry Russell. Is basically there's like a whole genre of horror movie that's about a family being terrorized by a force in their home. You know, like for example, Poltergeist, more recently The Conjuring, or Insidious. And they all kind of follow a similar structure wherein the family are in the home, something weird starts happening, usually centered around their children, usually at night. They get more and more freaked out about it. Eventually, they seek the help of an expert in the paranormal field, and then there's a showdown at the end of the film. That's kind of the structure. And Dark Skies perfectly, like, is not interested in changing the structure at all, except, unlike in Poltergeist, The Conjuring, Insidious, all those movies, instead of it being a paranormal demon or ghost, in Dark Skies, it is something from the sky, a UFO, an alien perhaps, is responsible for the strange goings on in this family's home. And it didn't get great reviews when it came out, and I'd never even really heard of it until my brother, who quite likes alien movies and stuff, recommended it to me, and we checked it out. I really enjoyed it. It's not reinventing the wheel, but I don't see any reason why it's kind of got such poor reviews in comparison to kind of other similar films. And it's probably one that a lot of people missed. And I'd recommend checking it out. Kerry Russell as the mum of the family is great, because she is great in everything she does. And then the expert, he's only in about 2 scenes, but the expert, like all these movies have, in this one is played by the perfect J.K. Simmons, which is always great to see him pop up in something. And this movie came out in like 2013, and Whiplash, I think, came out the year after. So he must have made this film and then immediately made Whiplash, which just kind of like turned him into a bit of a superstar, I think, because he won an Oscar for that. So this is kind of his last film before he really got massive off the back of Whiplash, I think. And yeah, I just want to recommend it as a film because I feel like a lot of people probably missed it. And if you can watch it, if it's available on a streaming service that you have access to, I would recommend checking it out. Dark Skies is a pretty fun time. It's got all the usual kids acting in a creepy way, animals being strange, just weird stuff happening. It's quite sparing with letting you see the aliens, but when you do see things happening, it's the designs are pretty cool looking. Probably the biggest negative is it's got a twist at the end that it thinks you're going to go, oh my god, but it's actually more like, yeah, I kind of figured that was the case. But other than that, I liked it. I liked Dark Skies. Everyone should check it out. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Next up, I watched a film that you might have seen, but it was the first time I'd ever seen it. It's from 1990, directed by Joe Dante, who directed Inner Space, one of your favourite films. It is the film Gremlins 2, The New Batch. Have you ever seen
No,
Gremlins 2?
No, I've only seen Gremlins 1.
Do you like Gremlins 1?
Oh, well, like, they gave me the worst nightmares until because my sister used to say that they would be under my bed and they would come out and, like, get me at night.
Nice.
And so I had the worst night terrors for, like, a few years.
That's cool.
After, so I couldn't watch the second one.
I like it.
Yeah, I like them when they were fluffy.
Yeah,
They're nice when they were fluffy, but just
Mogwai.
don't feed them, and then they
Gizmo.
become these horrible things that will, like, be under your bed.
Yeah.
How was it?
So it got worse reviews than the first film because the first one was like 1984, so this came out about 6 years later. And it moves I think the first film is set in Kingston Falls in like some small town. This one is set in New York in like an office building, and the main character from the first film, played by Zach Galligan, and his girlfriend, played by Phoebe Cates, are both working in this building. Gizmo, the Mogwai, the cute one from the first film, turns up in the office building, and due to a series of misadventures, he gets wet and starts to spawn gremlins off his back, as we saw in the first movie. And then they kind of cause havoc in this office building. But the main difference between this film, and I'd never watched this because I'd always heard this one was terrible and it had quite a poor reputation, so I'd never bothered with it because I really liked the first Gremlins movie. But this film, it opens with Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck having a little argument before the film starts. Okay. And then at the end, over the credits, Daffy Duck turns up over the credits, and then at the end he has an argument with Porky Pig about who gets to say that's all, folks. And I think the reason they put this at the start and end of the movie is because more than the first film, this is just a cartoon, like a live action cartoon. And the Gremlin, like, it's really, really funny, and it doesn't operate in any reality that we live in. Like, it's completely bonkers and wild. And like in this office building, there's a science lab run by a scientist played by Christopher Lee, and the Gremlins break into this science lab at one point in the movie and start drinking all his different potions, and they start turning into all different versions of the Gremlins. Like, one drinks a potion with just a picture of a bat on the label, so it turns into like a bat with like leathery wings, like a gremlin bat, and he flies out the side of the building. And when he flies out the side of the building, it leaves a perfect like Batman bat symbol where he flew out in the hole he made, if you see what I mean. Which is a great joke. And then he flies off and attacks somebody and gets thrown into some cement, and then he flies up and lands on the side of a church and sets immediately into a gargoyle. So it's more concerned with like being goofy and weird and funny than it is with being scary. Or do you know, like the first movie is kind of trying to be a horror comedy. This film just wants to be a comedy. One of the Gremlins drinks like a brain potion and starts being able to talk in like a really brainy, nerdy voice. And it's just incredibly goofy. And I actually controversially ended up thinking it's better than the first one.
Oh.
So here's a controversial opinion on Culture Bucket. Gremlins 2 is better than Gremlins 1. Deal with it. It's true. Accept it. Yeah, no, good film. Great film. Please watch Gremlins 2, The New Batch, if you've never seen it. It's really, really good. You should check it out, Alex, and see what you think.
Okay.
It might make you
I'm old
less...
enough not to get scared of Gremlins now, I think. Maybe not.
And there's a famous... Have you seen the Key and Peele sketch where they joke about Gremlins 2?
No.
It's like a guy It's like I think Keegan Michael Key is playing a guy who's like heading up a writers' meeting for writing the new Gremlins movie, and they're all being really boring. And then Jordan Peele comes in as like a sequel doctor, and he's all dressed really crazy, and he's just like, everyone gets to design a gremlin. And somebody's like, what about a vegetable gremlin? He's like, you mean a gremlin that's made of vegetables? It's in the movie. Electricity gremlin? It's in the movie. And they go around with all these ridiculous gremlins. And then at the end of the sketch, just a thing comes up on the screen saying, all of these genuinely are in Gremlins 2. And they are. There is a vegetable gremlin in Gremlins 2. It's ridiculous. But I love it. So yeah, that's Gremlins 2. Please watch it. What else did I watch? Oh, I watched a film on Shudder, a 2020 British horror movie directed by Christopher Smith called The Banishing, which is about, it's like set in, when's it set? Set in 1938. It's about a couple moving to a haunted house and getting haunted. It's rubbish. The Guardian gave it like 3 stars or something and said it was decent, and a bunch of other places have given it quite good reviews. It's so bad. It's so boring and rubbish. Don't watch it. Watch Dark Skies instead. It's much better. Avoid The Banishing. That's my pick of the week for something to avoid. The Banishing. Terrible movie. What else have we got? Netflix 2020 Russian science fiction horror film directed by Igor Abramenko. Sputnik.
Sorry. You said it's like Igor Abramenko.
Yes, please. Sputnik. It's set in 1983 during the Cold War in Soviet Russia. What a great setting. Two Russian cosmonauts are on an orbital research mission. Something crazy happens to their ship, and when they crash land on Earth, one of them has died, and something strange is happening to the other one.
What?
They get taken to a military base and basically experimented on to find out what's happened to him. And the leader of this base calls in a maverick doctor played by Oksana Akinshina as Tatiana Yurievna Kilmova, a neurophysiologist who's brought in to also try and find out what's going on with this cosmonaut. They find out fairly quickly what's going on with this cosmonaut, and I won't spoil it completely, but it is to do with extraterrestrial beings, and it is creepy and weird and gross and wonderful. And the rest of the film is basically her trying to work out what's going on, who's a good guy, who's a bad guy, whose side should she be on, in that kind of classic Russian sort of way, like, you know, the government. Who can you trust in Cold War era Soviet Russia? It's impossible to
tell.
The
government.
No, probably not the government. That's probably the not. Don't trust the government. It's really cool. I really enjoyed it. I kind of, it came from nowhere. I'd never heard of it until, again, my brother, because he likes alien films, as I mentioned, told me he'd watched it and it was good. So I checked it out, and yeah, it's a really cool movie. I'd definitely recommend it. I think there's going to be an American remake produced by Matt Reeves, supposedly, who directed Cloverfield and some of the Planet of the Apes movies, and he's making a new Batman film. So that's probably going to be fine. But I'd recommend going back and watching Sputnik. In the UK, it's on Netflix. Hopefully, it's easily available in other countries. But yeah, check out Sputnik. It's a really cool movie, really good. But then an even better film I watched on Shudder, a 2005 Japanese film. Yeah, Japanese horror film.
Yeah.
A found footage film. Called Noroi, The Curse. A movie that I'd never heard of until quite recently. It kind of came and went. I think it was big in Japan, but didn't make it abroad for some reason, really. But Shudder have finally started streaming it recently, so people have started watching it. It's how to describe it? It's a found footage movie, but not so much like the Blair Witch. It's more. It opens by describing this guy called Masafumi Kobayashi, who is a paranormal researcher, and he's been investigating this story about a curse. And basically, as soon as he finished making this documentary about this curse, his house burned down and he vanished. and then the rest of the film is you watching the documentary he had made leading up to the events of his disappearance, if you see what I mean. And it's quite long. It's just under 2 hours long, which is pretty long for a horror film, especially a found footage movie.
Mm.
And it's not necessarily trying to scare you, but it has this incredibly complex and fascinating mythology to do with Japanese. Like it's building off Japanese folklore, but it's created its own sort of story and demon and mythology that it unveils over the course of 2 hours. And it's a kind of film where like things will happen early on that once you've seen the entire movie make much more sense. You can start to understand why certain things were happening. And it all kind of it creates these like 10, 20, 30 different threads that all kind of come and get tied up together at the end, and it all explains itself, and it ends up being a pretty effective, like creepy found footage film. Like it's got some excellent sequences of like Japanese like variety shows, like if you turned on a TV in Japan, you'd see like
Yeah.
some presenters sat around on a couch talking, and then
Yeah.
it would cut to like a VT of one of them interviewing somebody and stuff like that. Like it's got a few of those segments in it. It pulls in a few different things. It has a huge cast of characters that you're constantly like learning more about. It should be, in my opinion, as well regarded as Ringu or Ju-on the Grudge or any of those other like really famous Japanese horror movies. Yeah, for some reason is basically almost unknown except in like horror fan circles. So if you can, absolutely check out Noroi the Curse. It's an awesome, really good Japanese horror movie, and everyone should watch it if they're interested. So yeah. That's pretty good. Then I watched yesterday. I watched the 2012 animated film Hotel Transylvania.
Ah, how's that?
Have you seen Hotel Transylvania?
Nope.
It's directed by Jendy Tartakovsky, who directed or made Dexter's Laboratory back in the day, and has done loads of cool things. So I finally watched it. It's fine. It's a pretty good movie. It's about Dracula and his daughter falling in love with a human, and they run a hotel.
Aww.
It's entertaining. It's on Netflix. Most people have seen it, I think, but you should check it out. It's good. And finally, that's all my films. Enjoy them. Some good ones in there. The last thing to talk about is I've been listening to the new Godspeed You Black Emperor album, Godspeed at State's End. Have you ever listened to Godspeed You Black Emperor?
No.
No, they're a Canadian post-rock band who've been going for well over 20 years at this point. They make sort of really big, bombastic, strange music with lots of droning noises in there and sort of ambient noises. And yeah, they're a cool band. I really like them. They've got a new album out, and it's one of their better ones in recent years. They kind of went away for a long time, then came back, and they've done a few albums, and it's probably the best of those new albums. So I'd recommend anyone who's interested in them to search that out and listen to it. And the only other thing I want to talk about is on the back of our top 5 80s bands episodes, I've been listening to a lot of one of your entries that I've not listened to in ages, The Smiths.
Ah.
Yeah.
They're good, aren't they?
Yeah, because I've really struggled with Morrissey in recent years.
Yeah.
I don't like him at all, and I won't have any argument about him being an absolutely awful human being.
Yeah.
And so for ages, like I won't listen to his solo work again because there's just no reason to. But for ages, I've not even listened to the Smiths because I've just been like, he's so awful. You just can't. It just makes me sad to think about it. But this week there was big scandal in the world of The Simpsons. Have you read about this?
No.
Oh,
what happened?
They did a new episode of The Simpsons called "Panic on the Streets of Springfield," and I've not seen it, but from what I've been able to work out, Lisa, who they seem to forget regularly is meant to be 8 years old, because this isn't the behaviour of an 8-year-old, but she gets a new imaginary friend, or she discovers the music of a band. I think they call them the Snoods or something in the Simpsons, fronted by a character called Quillaby, who's meant to be sort of a Morrissey standing quite clearly, voiced by Benedict Cumberbatch. And then she has him as her imaginary friend, and then she talks to him throughout the episode, if you see what I mean. And from what I can tell, the episode ends with her going to a music festival where the Snoods have reunited and are playing at this music festival. So she's been talking to the entire episode to the Quillaby as he looked in the 80s, and it looks sort of like 80s Morrissey in the Smiths, if you see what I mean. And then at the end, when you see the present day one, he looks more like what Morrissey looks like today in terms of being kind of a hateful, like, looks kind of like a horrible, angry old man in the way that I think Morrissey does. And there's jokes about how he's a racist. There's jokes about how he there's this joke about how he started eating meat because he discovered that foreigners invented vegetarianism and he hates foreigners even more than he hates meat, kind of thing. Like, it's a real character assassination, but it's a parody because they're calling him Quillaby and not calling him Morrissey, so I think they're sort of getting away with it. But the next day, Morrissey did this whole post basically saying that the Simpsons are racist for having a go at him and all sorts of nonsense. And got really publicly bent out of shape over it, and ended up just looking like as much of a fool as everyone knew he was. But for some reason, something in my head was like, well, now that the Simpsons, the most mainstream thing of all, has publicly acknowledged that Morrissey is a toxic, awful person, I can now separate him more from the Smiths somehow.
Yeah.
And then I was able to go and listen to the Smiths. And
That's
they're absolutely perfect. They're incredible.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
And Morrissey was a different person then, I hope, and is a different person now. But his voice is amazing in it. And the Smiths are the Smiths, and they're amazing.
Yeah, we can't forget the work of Johnny Marr and the other two.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who are equally.
But he's not a terrible human.
No, Johnny Marr's wonderful. I'm sure that I think it's Andrew Rourke, and I can't remember the name of the other member, but I think those three are great. I hope Johnny Marr's definitely great. So I'll just enjoy Morrissey's voice as it was, and continue to think he's awful now. But I'm glad I've been able to go back and enjoy the Smiths again, because it is some of the best music, especially if you're having complex emotions. They're a good band to listen to. So yeah, I like it. Good on the Smiths.
Great times.
Yeah, good times. Cool, that's me. Sorry for running a bit long. I had a lot of films to talk about, but that's on my culture catch up. Shall we get on with homework?
Well, I've got a video for you for our new feature.
Oh, my tube.
My tube.
Let's do it.
So I don't know, maybe you've seen this video, I don't know, but this video was amazing, and it's from 2 years ago. So basically, I think it was in response of La La Land and Moonlight.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what I didn't know is that, after watching this, I was like, why is he doing this? And it was really interesting. And what I didn't know is that the year before Friends came out in 1993, there was a series with all black cast called Living Single, and it was basically very similar to Friends. And then a year later, and that was on one of the American TV channels, and then a year later, Friends came and basically not copied, but took this similar concept and made it all white. And I think this was which is interesting, and like Living Single lasted 5 years, and still, like, I don't know about it, so it didn't really arrive on this side of the water.
Yeah.
But Friends went on for 10 years, and everybody knows Friends. So I thought it was interesting. Like, after watching this, I'll send it to you. And then when Moonlight, and when at the Oscars they called out La La Land instead of Moonlight.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know. I'll send it to you. Not newsfeed. But I still haven't watched either of those films, which I am going to watch as soon as possible. Because
I mean, yeah, interesting.
have you watched it? Have you watched either?
No, I mean, well, no, I have, and I've watched La La Land, and I've not watched Moonlight, which is I should have seen Moonlight really, but I saw La La Land in the cinema, and
Have I sent it to you?
Yeah.
It's 7 minutes, but it's cool.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't seen it. I've got an idea. I've got a video that's about 5 minutes long. What if I send you that and you watch that while I'm watching this, and then we talk about both?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's called Mike Wozniak's farting task.
Okay. So you watch that one and I'll watch this one.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to press play now, yeah?
Yeah, me too. Oh, have you finished watching yours?
Not yet.
Mine is not funny. This is so funny. It's an absolute casserole.
Okay. Oh yeah, mine just finished.
What did you think of that?
So I thought I'd seen that before, but I haven't seen that before. That was cool. That was interesting. So I've listened to that album 444 quite a lot.
Yeah.
And it's one of his best. It's probably of his like recent work. It's probably his best album, I'd say. Have you listened to 444?
No, not yet.
It's really, really good.
I will.
And that's it's just the amount of people they managed to pull together for that video is impressive. Like Tessa Thompson, who you know is one of my favorites.
So who's in that video? So there's Tessa Thompson, then
Lil Rel Howery is in it. Lakeith Stanfield, Tiffany Haddish, Issa Rae, and then I don't know the guy who's playing Ross, the main guy.
Oh yeah, I've seen in a few things, but I'm not.
And then Hannibal Buress as well turns up for a minute, and he's one of my favorite comedians, so that's pretty funny.
Yeah, and they're recreating a scene from Friends.
Yeah, they're doing it word for word. I don't remember. Is that an exact episode of Friends with the fat?
That's an exact episode of Friends. It's when he wins an award.
Yeah.
And and they have to leave. But I just thought it was just so interesting how they did it and how he managed to get all these people in, and it's a total recreation of Friends. And and
the idea being that like black culture is constantly overshadowed by white culture, and even when they win like an Oscar, it still has to be done in a way where they're overshadowed by whiteness, essentially.
Absolutely.
It's interesting. It's a good video. It's good, and it's a Jay-Z music video where the focus he's removed the focus almost entirely from his own music or himself to just comment on blackness in America, I guess. But it's it's good. It's a good video. Thank you for showing it me.
You're welcome.
What did you think of the one I sent you?
So I just watched. What did I just watch? Like, what's his name? Because I took
Wozniak.
Mike Wozniak, fart shock, and it was a task, but so in Taskmaster everybody's got the same task to do, but sometimes Alex Horne is really terrible and it gives a task only to one person, and so it gives this task of the person has to fart.
If you haven't seen this, make sure you watch it before we discuss it because it's worth seeing it.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say what happens, but something. It's just really funny what happens, and it's unexpected, and I cried because it was so funny.
I was watching that very serious Moonlight video and could just see you crying in the corner of my screen on Skype.
Yeah, I'm not gonna spoil it because it's watch that video, which is what's his name? I don't know this guy. Alex Wozniak.
Mike Wozniak.
Mike Wozniak, fart Taskmaster.
He's in a sitcom with Greg Davies called Man Down, which I've seen a bit of. But other than that, I barely know him. But he's he's very
Okay.
much the highlight of this season of Taskmaster because he's consistently hilarious. But that
That is
episode
so
is
funny.
probably the best episode of Taskmaster, thanks to that
Okay,
bit.
I'm gonna.
Because
Okay.
it's just, and that noise is gonna stay with me forever.
Oh my god, yeah. I was like, oh no, oh, that's a bad noise. And then you expect it's gonna be one thing, but it's totally something
It's
unexpected
something
what
much
happened.
worse.
So watch that video. Oh my
It's an
god.
absolute
Thank you
casserole.
for sharing.
You're welcome. Okay, cool. That was good. I enjoyed that. That was my tube. Now let's do homework.
Sit down at the back and be quiet and get out your book because it's time to discuss your homework. Now.
Homework time. So, last week we did top 5 Coen Brothers movies, and you asked me to watch Fargo, which I wasn't sure if I watched, but I don't think I've ever watched it.
You don't think you've ever seen Fargo?
No,
I've
never seen Fargo.
Stunned.
Me too. Because you know when you're convinced you've seen something.
Yeah.
Have you ever been convinced that you've seen something and you haven't?
Yeah, I think so. That Jay-Z video is one of them. I was certain I'd watched that, but I don't remember a second of it.
Yeah, so I was but I'm glad I've never seen it. Because, well, first of all, Fargo. So Fargo, the names in Fargo are really hard to say, so I'm
Yeah.
going to read them.
Yeah. Like Lester Nygaard and stuff.
Jerry Ludengard, he's having some financial difficulties, and he enlists 2 people. Well, he asks somebody to help him to kidnap his wife, so his wealthy father-in-law can give a ransom. And that's pretty much what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And then this crime gets investigated by a persistent policewoman called who's pregnant, which is amazing.
Yep.
Called Marge Gunderson,
Yep.
or Margie. I love they call it Margie.
Yeah.
Like she seems like the only thinking person in this film. But from the moment the film starts, where they're in that bar and they discuss what time they were supposed to meet, I was like, oh, this is going to be brilliant. Yeah, because it's just like this guy, Jerry Lundegaard, meets these 2 people and they like, well, we're supposed to meet at 7:30. It's like, oh, but this guy said 8:30, and that's just how it
Yeah,
starts.
so
So
I guess
what?
there's been a bit of a misunderstanding there. Well, we were meant to meet at 7:30. Well, like I said, it's a bit of a misunderstanding.
Oh, it's so good. And there are a lot of mishaps in this film because the people are all really, really ridiculous.
Yeah. Things spiral out of
Um,
control like immediately, don't they?
Things, yeah, it's straight away. Like there's no, and but also what I love about it is just so many things happen that could be avoided. Why there are 2 people involved in this crime? Like Jerry Lundegaard, who's played by William. Do I say H. Macy or
Yeah, well,
William Macy?
I think William H.
H.
Macy
Macy.
tends to be.
Yeah. Jerry Lundegaard, who's played by William H. Macy, only asks for 1 person, but there are 2 people,
Yeah.
which are Carl and Gar, which are Steve Buscemi and Peter Stormare. So from there, it's like, it's supposed to be 1 person. Where's the second person?
Yeah.
And the second person just seems like really bizarre. Peter Stormare is amazing in this film.
Oh, he's one of the
He's
greats.
So, like, it doesn't have many lines,
Yeah.
but what he does on camera is pretty amazing. And then who else is in this film? So there's still Steve Buscemi, and I don't know anyone else.
John Carroll Lynch as Margie's husband is pretty. He's not in it a lot,
Yes.
but he's pretty good.
Yes, he's in The Invitation.
He is. Yeah.
And
And another
what
film
I
I'm
love.
going to talk about later.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
But I thought it was brilliant. Classic Coen Brothers. That it could have been like this could be like a really serial, a really
Super
serious thriller. You know, there are people dying, there are like people being chopped up, there is but instead they made a hilarious movie about a crime that was really silly.
Yeah,
Like a
yeah.
really
And even like
stupid
somebody gets
crime.
fed into a wood chipper in this movie, but it's still funny.
Somebody get it's so funny because it's with the leg that pops out. And it's just so good because it's so surreal and fun, and it's like it's just a really good movie.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I watched it now because it was just so, because like you said, you haven't watched all the Coen Brothers movies because sometimes you want to be like,
Yeah.
you want some of that. That
Yeah.
is the first time you watch. I'm really glad I've never seen Fargo because I just loved it. Like time flew by, and it was amazing. And Frances McDormand is amazing in this film. Like I love her. She's my favorite actress, and she's amazing.
My
I
favorite.
love the accents.
My favorite Frances
Yeah.
McDormand bit in this movie is where they're first investigating the crime scene, and that police officer's like, "Yeah, apparently the plates were DLR, so I'm finding all cars that start with DLR," and she's just like, "Gotta disagree with your police work there, Lou.
Yeah.
I think it'll be dealer
It's so-
plates." I just love the way they're so polite to each other. When he's made a mistake
and everybody
like that.
and like they're just so fun and polite, and you never expect that she's gonna solve the crime because she's like, "Oh, sorry to bother you, yeah."
Yeah.
And they just yeah, it's so good, and it's got classic moments, Coen Brothers moments that are just
Yeah,
surrealistically funny.
yeah.
Like when the police, one of the police people goes to this guy's house, and they just have a conversation about the people on the lake, and it lasts
Oh,
about 3
yeah,
minutes,
yeah.
and you go, what? Just what you told is on the lake, just stop. But no, it's great. It's a brilliant film. I loved it. It's amazing.
Just a couple of bits I want to bring up. One, the bit where the father-in-law turns up with the ransom money instead of William H. Macy, and Steve Buscemi's just like, "Who are you now? Why are you? What are you doing here?" And then Steve Buscemi ends up getting shot in the mouth, and he's just just holding onto his face, trying to escape from this parking lot. He pulls up to the
And then when he
thing.
escapes from the parking lot, William H. Macy could easily stop him, but he doesn't.
Yeah,
You go, why you let him go?
yeah.
Oh.
And just one tiny moment that makes me laugh so much is when Steve Buscemi takes an escort to a show somewhere, and he's trying to impress her, but he's a complete goon. And there's a bit where he just tries to stop the waiter by just going, "Waiter, waiter," and the guy just walks past him without reacting at all. And it makes me laugh so much because it underscores how like pathetic and awful Steve Buscemi's character is in that film.
Yeah.
I love it. It's such a good movie. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Oh, it's so fun. It's really, really a fun movie, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
I like Steve Buscemi try to like cover the money with snow, and then he looks around, and and he doesn't know how to, and then he just puts this scraper on.
Yep. Yep. Are you gonna watch any of the Fargo TV show?
I don't know. Have you watched it?
Yeah, I've watched the first 2 seasons.
Is it good?
It's incredible.
Okay.
It's spectacularly good. It only connects to
But
the
is it-
film in minor ways, but the guy who
Okay.
made it, Noah Hawley, hits the Coen brothers vibes really, really well. And it's
okay.
really cool. Martin Freeman and Billy Bob Thornton are the stars of the first season, and it's a great season. And then
Awesome.
the second season has Kirsten Dunst and quite a few great actors actually in the second season. So yeah,
Ah,
I'd
okay.
recommend checking it out for sure.
Yeah, definitely good Coen Brothers film.
Nice.
I loved it. Thank you.
You're welcome. My homework was True Grit.
Yeah.
The Coen Brothers remake of the John Wayne film, starring Jeff Bridges, Hailey Steinfeld, and who else? Let's see. Yes, the 2010 film, starring Hailey Steinfeld, Jeff Bridges, Matt Damon, Josh Brolin, and Barry Pepper. and
Yes.
I had seen it once before when it came out, but I barely remembered it, so that's why it was my homework. And I'm glad I gave it another go because I didn't really. I remember not loving it. So I'm glad I watched it a second time because I enjoyed it much more on this watch than on my first watch. And in particularly, Hailey Steinfeld's performance stood out to me quite a bit. I think this was like her first film that she was in or
Yeah.
something. She's
Yeah.
incredible in this movie.
Amazing in that film. Yeah.
She plays Mattie Ross, a 14-year-old girl whose father has been killed by the outlaw Tom Chaney, and she hires Rooster Cogburn to track him down and kill him. Rooster Cogburn, played by Jeff Bridges, Tom Chaney, played by Josh Brolin, and the only big character to talk about is a Texas Ranger named LaBeef, which just on its own is an oddly funny name for a person, LaBeef, played by Matt
Yeah.
Damon, who also wants to find Chaney and track him down and kill him. And the three of them end up embarking on this quest to track down Chaney and take him out.
Yeah.
And the film is mainly about the sort of conflict or like explosive relationship between Mattie Ross and Rooster Cogburn as they travel across America to track down this outlaw, and how much they bicker
Yeah.
and get upset with each other. And it's pretty great. Jeff Bridges has like one of the all-time great character introductions in this movie, where he's in a courtroom explaining why he shot somebody, and this lawyer's trying to kind of show him up as an idiot, but Jeff Bridges is just like a brick wall in a way that you can't embarrass him at all. He's just like, yeah, I shot him. I've shot loads of people. I was defending myself. What do you want me to do about it? Kind of thing. And I liked it. It's really good. It still probably wouldn't make like my list of favorite Coen Brothers movies. Probably because westerns aren't really my thing exactly. If you see what I mean. And it doesn't.
Definitely.
It doesn't so much have the sort of. I think probably because they're adapting somebody else's work, it has less of a focus on events spiraling out of control or kind of things happening in unexpected and like a domino effect sort of thing where something bad will happen and it will affect other things in unexpected ways. It's not quite got that plot to it, which isn't a criticism of it, but it's a reason why it's not for me one of the best Coen Brothers movies, because that's the main thing I like about the films of theirs that I love, like Fargo or Inside Llewyn Davis or any number of other films. But it is a brilliant movie. It's definitely like at least a 4-star film. And Jeff Bridges and Hailey Steinfeld are incredible in it. Matt Damon's fine in it. It's cool that he's in a Coen Brothers movie.
But he's just fine.
Yeah, he's just okay. Josh Brolin's pretty brilliant, but he's not in it that much.
Yeah.
But when he turns up, he's kind of doing a voice in it that's not really quite like his own voice. And it's kind of, I don't know, I kind of love it. I love him in the movie.
Yeah.
But he's not in it that much. But and then it is quite sad and emotional. Like the ending really got to me actually when I watched it this time. I was really affected by it. So no, it's a good film. True Grit. It's probably
and I feel even if everything doesn't spiral out of control, I feel it's got still the mastery of like dialogue and making things.
Like you could. I mean, like the scene early on when Mattie Ross goes to barter for a horse and some ponies.
Yeah.
With a businessman in the town. That scene is a masterpiece in how to like write dialogue. I think it's great the way she runs rings around this guy and has him like on the back foot the entire time, and then the scene ends with him just being like, "Wait, are we bartering again?" Like it's great. It's really good. So
So and that's the thing. I think they're just geniuses. That's it.
Yeah, they definitely are geniuses.
And
Do you know
to
that
put
the next film is the first one that only one of them has done on his own? Like there's a Macbeth adaptation coming out, and I think Joel Cohen has made it on his own.
Oh,
which is fascinating. I wonder why they've done this after so long. That he's kind of doing something. Yeah, Joel Cohen on his own is making a Macbeth movie called The Tragedy of Macbeth. And again, the cast. Let me read you this cast: Denzel Washington as Macbeth,
Yeah, baby.
Frances McDormand as Lady Macbeth.
Ha.
Brendan Gleeson as King Duncan. Corey Hawkins as Macduff. Stephen Root's in there. Ralph Ineson, who's a great guy, he's in The Witch and a bunch of movies. He's a really good actor. Yeah, it's a crazy cast. I mean, have they worked with Denzel Washington before? I don't think they have.
No.
So yeah, that's crazy. That's really cool. I'm excited about that. Okay.
I'm really glad you enjoyed it more.
Yeah.
I really want to watch The Witch, and I watched the trailer, and that spooked me. But I really love Anya Taylor-Joy. Can I watch The Witch?
Yeah.
I can't watch The Witch.
Yeah,
can
no,
I?
you can watch.
I
The
do
Witch.
live in the woods.
I'm
You know where I
more.
live.
It's
I live-
going to be interesting because it's Robert Eggers. So, is it going to be your love for Anya Taylor-Joy or your hate for Robert Eggers that shines through on that one?
Like, I'm happy just to watch Anya Taylor-Joy in something.
Then you should definitely. Then you should definitely watch The Witch. It's not a scary movie. It's not a terrifying horror film. It's more. It's got a lot of atmosphere, in my opinion.
Okay.
I don't know how well
Okay.
it builds tension, so you'll have to watch it yourself.
Oh, be quiet. You know what I mean. You know what I mean.
But Anya Taylor-Joy is like, that was the first movie I ever saw her in. It was the first movie most people saw her in, I think, but that was the first thing I saw her in, and from watching that movie I was like, I am a fan of this actor and I'm going to watch everything
Yeah.
I do. And I have done pretty much.
Yeah.
And she's
Yeah.
the best.
And that's the problem. I'm missing The Witch, and I really want to watch The Witch.
Watch The Witch.
Like I just need some Anya in my life.
You haven't seen Split, have you?
No, I haven't. Is she in that?
Yeah, she is. She's really good in Split. Really good.
Okay.
You should watch Split.
Well,
And what else?
I will.
New Mutants, but I haven't watched that.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Our top 5.
Let's do it. Top 5. Top 5
Let's
thrillers.
do it. Top 5 thrillers.
This is going to be two very different lists, I reckon.
It's going to be two extremely different lists. Maybe we'll have one that might be the same, but I don't think so. The thing with thriller is sometimes it borders with horror.
Oh, yes.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I went a lot of like everywhere because like I said before, it was going to be lots of 90s thrillers and, no.
My number one on this list actually is described as a horror film on Wikipedia, but I feel like it's a thriller. In fact, I heard somebody say once, and I don't agree with this, but that if it's completely non-supernatural, it's a thriller, and if it's got supernatural stuff in it, it's a horror film. But I don't agree that that's the distinction.
No, I don't agree with that.
No. There's more of an atmosphere and a tone to horror, and
Exactly.
separates them. Anyway,
like the thing, it could be a horror thriller.
yeah, because the thing, yeah. It's a horror, but it has, yeah.
So my number 5 represents the 90s. So this is my representation of the 90s. I had a little bit of difficulties in this, but I think this is a good thriller.
Okay.
I like the thriller where somebody pretends to be somebody else.
Okay.
I love that kind of stuff because it's like, how do you not recognize them? But then would I? Wouldn't I? I don't know. So my number 5 is the 1999 psychological thriller written and directed by Anthony Minghella. And it's called The Talented Mr. Ripley.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yes, this is my 90s choice. Late 90s. And it's got incredible cast. It's got Matt Damon as Mr. Ripley, Gwyneth Paltrow, Jude Law, Kate Blanchett, Philip Seymour Hoffman, which it pains me that he's not with us anymore. Yeah, so it stars Matt Damon as so Matt Damon plays Tom Ripley, and he's approached one night by this he was working as a pianist at a party, and he gets approached by this rich man, don't know what it was, and he believes that Ripley has gone to Princeton because he's got a Princeton jacket. But what he doesn't know is that Tom Ripley has borrowed this jacket from somebody. And so But yeah, so he thinks he's attended Princeton with his son Dickie, who's played by Jude Law, and he recruits Ripley to travel to Italy to persuade his son Dickie to return home, and he gives him 1,000, and he wants to give him 1,000 like money for that. But then Ripley kind of gets obsessed with Dickie and the lifestyle that he has, and he ends up doing a bad thing and then taking over the Dickie's life, and yeah, I'm not going to tell anymore, because if you want to watch the film, you have to watch it. So I really like this film because first of all, like I said before, I enjoy the kind of, well, you do you know me? Do you not know me? Who are you? Do we know each other? And I think I've seen a few films like that, and I think that's interesting because it works on memory. And I enjoy the fact that you believe that Ripley is a good person in a way, and he does things because he's, he hasn't got the money. And then you think that Dickie, the guy that he's supposed to take home, is a bad guy, but in reality, he's not, and what happens to him shouldn't really happen to him. And then the more you watch the film, the more you realize what kind of person Ripley is, and to what extent he would go to reach something that he hasn't got, and how cruel he is. And so it's I think is one of Matt Damon's best films. I think he's brilliant in this film, and I think Jude Law is pretty good in this film as well. Jude Law, I think he had a bit of a plateau, and I think in this film he kind of came back. And I love the scenery in this film. They're in Italy, it's very decadent, and it's all very, and that's the kind of life you would want. But would you do what Ripley does to achieve that, or would you do it in a more subtle way? So then you realize that Ripley is not really all together, and not really a good person. And I just really enjoy this film, and I think it's really good, and a good thriller, I think.
Nice.
Yeah. Have you seen The Talented Mr. Ripley?
I tried to watch it a long time ago. I was probably 14 or 15, maybe, something like that. And I turned it
Too
off because
young.
it was too boring.
Cool. Talented Mr. Ripley, number 5. What's your number 5?
My number 5 is an Italian giallo film.
Oh, it's a giallo.
Giallo. It's my entry for giallo, because I think that's a really great sub-genre of thrillers. Because there's some great films coming out of Italy. So it's a 1970 movie called L'Uccello dalle Piume di Cristallo.
Oh, very good
how was that?
Italian. Perfect.
Oh yeah. So what did I say?
The bird with the crystal plume.
Yeah. Thank you.
Feathers.
Yeah.
L'uccello dalle penne di cristallo.
Yeah.
Piume di cristallo.
The bird with the
Very
crystal plumage. Is the
plumage.
It's the directorial debut. I've spoken about it before on this podcast, I think. Ages.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah. Directorial debut of Dario Argento, who's an icon of Italian cinema. Music by Ennio Morricone, who again is an icon of all of cinema. And it's about an American writer who's on holiday in Italy. He's about to go back to America because he has writer's block, but he witnesses a woman in an art gallery being attacked by a mysterious black-gloved assailant dressed in a raincoat. And there's things in this movie, in particular the killer wearing black gloves and having close-ups of their hands when they're committing murders. And I think it was Dario Argento that it was his hands when he did those insert shots of like the killer. For some reason, he liked to use his own hands for those. That like went forwards into like most of giallo cinema. I think it's always the killer has black gloves and you see the close up of their hands and stuff like that. And it was all kind of invented by this film. And he basically just inserts himself into. He witnesses this crime. and then just sort of inserts himself into the police investigation. Like, he's just a writer from America. He's not an American. He's not a policeman. He's not an Italian policeman, certainly. But he
Yeah.
takes it upon himself to investigate this crime, and just basically goes through the process of trying to find out what's going on and who the killer is. And it's just a very entertaining sort of, like, everything's really colourful. Everything is very big and loud and expressive, because that's how Italian cinema was in the 70s, and that's how Jello is. And it's just great. I really, really
Yeah.
like it. I imagine you haven't seen it?
No.
No. It's a great film. People should check it out. I really like The Bird of Crystal Plumage. And I don't want to go too far past that into the plot, because it's just quite fun. There's a bit where he goes to view is it in, yeah. Da, 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 da. I can't find it now. I'm sure it's in this movie that there's a bit where he goes to visit somebody who can maybe give him some information, but they live on the second floor of a building that has no way of getting to the second floor unless you, like, put a ladder out of the window. And it's this mad artist who like, I think it's references that he has loads of cats and he eats his cats, and it's just mad. It's just a bonkers film. I really like it. So yeah, that's my number 5 pick, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage.
Nice.
Check it.
Check it out. Cool. So, my number 4. My number 4 goes back. One of the oldest films I've ever mentioned, I think, in this podcast. And my number 4 is a film from 1944,
Wow.
and it's called Double Indemnity.
Oh.
So it's a noir film, and it's an incredible noir film. I'm not really good with those films, but I fell in love with this the first time I watched it, because it's so, I don't know, it's kind of like, it's film school 101. You notice things because, like, I must have come from this film, and I don't know, I just love it. So it's about this insurance representative. Well, the film starts in an amazing way. The film starts with, like, this guy that is clearly suffering, but you're not sure why, and then talking to a dictaphone. And a dictaphone, yeah, it's a dictaphone, the one you talk to in
Yeah.
Yeah, and talking to a dictaphone, and then he starts telling the story, and then the story goes back, and it's really interesting. But yeah, so this insurance representative, he meets this woman. The actors are Fred McCurry. The only one I know is Barbara Stanwyck. Do you know her?
I mean, I've heard the name.
Yeah. But yeah, so insurance salesman Walter Neff, which is played by Fred McMurray, gets roped in a scheme to murder Barbara Stanwyck's husband to get the insurance, the money insurance, the life insurance. And he's so and what he thinks then, if it's an accidental death, then she could get the double insurance. And so she that's why it's called double indemnity. So everything goes kind of well, so until they kill the husband, but then his boss doesn't think that things are right. And it's a film that it's just like they speak really fast. It's like classic, like 1940s films, like oh yeah. And there's a shot when they meet, and which is beautiful, because, like, she is at the top of the stairs and he looks down and she looks up. No, she looks down and he looks up, and it's kind of like a power thing. And until the end, you say who's playing who, and then he calls a baby. He doesn't call her name, so she's just an object. It's just like, and it just it's such a good film, and I love it. And even how they speak kind of makes you tense, because they go, "Oh yeah, we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that," blah, 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 blah. And then I kind of love the cinema of that time, because there are a lot of like innuendos in how they speak, and then there's a scene that, and then it jumps to another scene after. It's like, have they had sex? Have they not had sex? Has she cheated? Who knows? I don't know. I think it's a really good film, and it's a really good thriller. That when I watched it, I was the first time I was like, oh my god, it's just I think you have to really be into film noir to enjoy them. I don't enjoy many of them. I've watched a few, but I just love this one. And I think Barbara Stanwyck is beautiful in this film. She's just gorgeous. Who wouldn't fall in love with her? But yeah, double indemnity. I can't even say it.
Indemnity.
Double indemnity. Double indemnity.
My number 4 is more recent. It's a 2010 movie, psychological thriller, directed by Darren Aronofsky.
Oh,
And starring Natalie Portman, Vincent Cassel, and Mila Kunis, and it is Black Swan.
amazing.
Have you seen Black Swan?
I have not seen Black Swan.
Wow. So it's a film about obsession and the wanting to achieve perfection. Natalie Portman plays a ballet dancer who's a member of the New York City Ballet Company. They are going to do a performance of Swan Lake, and they're looking for a new dancer to play the White Swan and the Black Swan. And Nina, Natalie Portman's character, is desperate to perform as the Black Swan and the White Swan, and the film is all about her efforts basically to be perfect enough to play this role in the ballet, and sort of how she competes with Mila Kunis for the role. And it kind of builds and builds and builds as she gets more and more desperate to be perfect in this ballet and to do the performance and all this, until it gets to the final. About half an hour or 20 minutes of the film is just, I saw this film in the cinema, and you literally, for the last half hour of this movie, you don't breathe. Like, there's no time to breathe. It is the tensest and most frantic, like, 20 minutes of a film I've ever seen, as this character's mind just starts to break completely, and you completely lose track of what's real, not what's happening in her head, what's really happening. And it's incredible. I've never quite seen a film like it, and Natalie Portman deservedly won an Oscar for the lead role in this film, because she is an incredible actress, and this is probably her best ever role. I think it's incredible. And yeah, so yeah, I love Black Swan.
Amazing. I've never seen it. Like, I've seen other Aronofsky's films. I think, is it The Wrestler?
The Wrestler's an Aronofsky movie. Yeah, The Wrestler's kind of almost like I think Black Swan and The Wrestler formed a bit of a duo in his filmography in a way, because because Black Swan is a very feminine movie about trying to achieve perfection in something that's considered quite feminine, and then The Wrestler is almost an examination of the mirror image, the masculine version of what that might be in a way. The Wrestler's brilliant, but Black Swan for me is the better film. And he's done stuff like he did Mother a few years ago, which was really, really hated by a lot of people, but I thought was fun. I really like Mother. But that film is completely off the wall from start to finish.
And also did Requiem for a Dream, which I really enjoyed.
Yes, I've never seen that. I need to watch it, but it just sounds so upsetting that I've never sort of.
It is. Requiem for a Dream. I think I've seen it once, and I'm never going to watch it again. Yeah. It's really upsetting. Yeah. It's and I remember a lot of that film. You know, sometimes you just remember films and you go, oh, just oof.
Yeah.
Like it's set as a thriller, but I didn't want to put it as my top 5 because it's a really good. But I don't think it's a thriller. I think it's just
like a drama.
Like a drama, a life drama, which is awful. It doesn't end well.
Yeah.
It's
horrific.
For
from that third act, the way it goes. But it's definitely. I mean, some people call it a horror film. And you could probably argue that it's a horror, but
Yeah.
it's definitely, for me, it falls into like. Well, I mean, I'm putting it here as a thriller because it's top 5 thrillers,
No.
and I wanted to include it because I love it. Mila Kunis also is
Nice.
great in it. She should get more recognition for how good she is.
Yeah. I think she's really good. It's just, I don't know, maybe. I don't know.
You should check it out. You should, you should watch it.
It might be my homework. You never know.
We will have to wait and see. What's your number 3?
My great choice, number 4. My number 3 is 2000 American neo-noir psychological thriller, written and directed by Christopher Nolan.
Ooh.
And the film is called Memento.
Oh, Memento.
Memento. So the Memento. How could you explain Memento? Is the story of a man with short-term memory that is trying to find his wife's killer. So his short-term memory, according to Christopher Nolan, was for how long he could keep attention to one thing. So it's not a specific time, because they asked him. Of course, they asked a director how much is, and so the intelligent response was, is the amount of time he can keep attention to one thing, and it's a non-linear film, and is set in 2 ways. So one part is in black and white and one part is in color, and is the same story but going the opposite direction to then become the ending would be the same. So the end would be the beginning, and in the film the cast is amazing. Guy Pearce plays Leonard, which is the guy that is trying to find his wife's killer. Carrie-Anne Moss is Natalie, which is kind of his love interest, friend. Who knows? Joey Pantoliano is Teddy, which he's great in it.
He's always great.
And and it's fantastically made, because this thing about 2 timelines that then coincide and doing them in different colors. So you kind of, I don't know, I thought that's really brilliant. And the fact that because he's got such short-term memory and you only rely on him for memory, then you're not really sure exactly who is bad, good, fooling him, taking advantage of him until the end.
That's why the structure works so well, because it keeps you constantly guessing what's going on.
Because every time there's a new scene, you learn a little bit more, and the more you learn, the more confused you are to exactly what is happening. But it's a brilliant thriller. It's great, and the fact that how is shot is amazing, but also the idea of the Leonard, the guy with short-term memory, to keep everything, to remember stuff. He tattoos things on his body, and then his body's like full of tattoos,
right?
Which is that's just amazing. It's like he used it instead of using a diary. This guy tattoos things to himself because that's the only thing that he cannot lose is his body. And it's a brilliant film, and I really really enjoy it. Yeah, you've seen Memento, haven't you?
Oh yeah. I love Memento. It's great. Kind of one of those first moments where you really realise that Christopher Nolan was a special filmmaker. I think
a special film, definitely. Yeah. Definitely.
So,
yeah,
an amazing choice. And just to say again, Joe Pantoliano is amazing quality in when he's in The Matrix, he's eating that steak, he's brilliant.
Oh yeah.
When he's the police chief in the Bad Boys movies, just being furious with Will Smith, he's brilliant. And when he's being is he Leonard or is that Guy Pearce?
No, Leonard is Guy Pearce. He's Teddy.
Teddy. When he's being Teddy in this movie, and you really, really don't know how to feel about him until the end of the movie. He's great.
You have no idea.
Yeah. He's wonderful.
Because you definitely feel a certain way about him.
Like, you know that there's
for the
something
longest
you're like,
time.
you can't trust him totally, but you need to watch the whole movie to see like what's going
Yeah.
on, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he's unsettling, isn't he? There's something about him. He plays it so well.
Yeah.
What a
Yeah,
film!
definitely.
Great film.
Yeah. Number 3, Memento. Oh, and he takes Polaroids. Like, he takes Polaroids of everything. So that's like, it's just even how the ideas are just amazing. It's just a great film.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your number 2?
My number 3.
No.
Yeah,
Oh,
because you're
yeah,
going
sorry.
first.
What's your number 3?
My number 3 is my 90s pick. It is a 1993 American thriller, directed by Andrew Davis, and it stars, just get ready for this list of actors. Well, mainly the first 2, but it's pretty good. Harrison Ford.
Yes.
Tommy Lee Jones.
Of course.
Sella Ward. Sure.
No idea.
I don't know. But get ready for the next name on this list. Joe Pantoliano.
Oh,
He's back
yes.
straight away. He ruled the 90s, that man. It is, of course, The Fugitive.
The Fugitive. Of course, it's The Fugitive.
Have you seen The Fugitive?
Yeah, baby.
For me, it's one of those movies that it's just, from start to finish, it's entertaining. Like, every scene is entertaining.
Yeah.
It's a great, like, it's not too complex, if you see what I mean. Like, it's not like Memento where you're constantly on the back foot and you're trying to work out what's going on. Like, The Fugitive is like, hey, you sit down, get a beer, get like a burger or something, relax. I'm going to hold your hand this entire time. You're going to be fine. And we're going to get to the end together and you're going to have enjoyed yourself. And it's exactly what it is. Like, Harrison Ford is awesome. Tommy Lee Jones is, I mean, the guy, like, I think he won an Oscar for this film. Did he?
Wow.
Did he? I'm going to make sure, but I feel like he did. Yeah, like Tommy Lee Jones won Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars for this thriller, which is such a rarity and shows how good he is in the movie, because he doesn't have like an arc so much. He kind of does, but like he doesn't have a love interest. He's not sort of doing anything huge. He's just perfect as this police officer. And the plot of the movie is that Harrison Ford is Dr. Richard Kimball. His wife dies. He's accused of killing her. He's arrested and tried and found guilty. Something happens on the way to prison. He escapes and sets out, while on the run as a fugitive, the titular fugitive, he sets out to find out who killed his wife and why, and uncovers a conspiracy far greater than he imagined. On his trail is a team of U.S. Marshals, headed up by Tommy Lee Jones as U.S. Marshal Sam Gerard, whose job is to track down fugitives, and that's all he wants to do. And there's a very memorable scene where he's got Harrison Ford at gunpoint, and Harrison Ford yells, "I didn't kill my wife," and Tommy Lee Jones just replies, "I don't care," and it's so good. It's just great. It's just fantastic. And yeah, it's the absolute best. It's entertaining. It's wonderful. There's a one-armed man, and that's who Harrison Ford has to find. He has to find the one-armed man to prove his innocence. And yeah, it's really, really good. It's so good, in fact, that it spawned a sequel that Harrison Ford isn't even in. Tommy Lee Jones is so good in this movie that they made a sequel called U.S. Marshals that's just about him hunting down another fugitive, played by Wesley Snipes. Have you seen that movie?
No, I haven't seen that.
It's not as good as The Fugitive, but you should check it out because it's pretty. Like, Wesley Snipes is the fugitive in that one. Tommy Lee Jones and Joey Pants and the rest are hunting him down. But in that movie, there was an FBI agent also in the mix, played by a young Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, I do like young Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, you should definitely, if you haven't seen it, you should watch U.S. Marshals. It's pretty, like,
Yeah.
it's one of those 90s sequels where they're like, now everything has to be bigger. So in the first movie, it's a bus crash, isn't it, that he escapes from? Whereas in U.S. Marshals, it's a plane crashes and Wesley Snipes escapes from it. And instead of being like it's a medical conspiracy thing in The Fugitive, in the U.S. Marshals, it's like a whole government kind of conspiracy and stuff, and it all gets bigger and sillier. And it opens with Tommy Lee Jones dressed in like a chicken suit, which is pretty funny. So yeah, I love it. The Fugitive, U.S. Marshals, 2 great movies, but The Fugitive is my number 3 pick for thrillers.
It is a good film.
Yeah.
And Harrison Ford.
Oh,
He was
what a
good in the
man.
90s. He's still good.
He's
always good.
Yeah. Although
He's always gonna be good.
I'm concerned that they're pushing ahead with it with Indiana Jones 5, but we'll
No. Oh, no. I still have PTSD when we did Indiana Jones 4.
Yes, but have you seen who they've cast as the second lead in the film?
Who?
Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Oh. Yeah, but I hope Shia LaBeouf is not in
No, I
it.
don't think Shia LaBeouf's in it. Phoebe Waller-Bridge is in it, and then the third cast member they've announced is Mads Mikkelsen. And
Okay,
I love Mads
well,
Mikkelsen.
that's
I like Phoebe Waller-Bridge a lot.
Me too.
So, but then Harrison Ford, I think he's in his 80s at this point. So
no,
I'm really...
he's not that old.
think he
He's
is.
like 70. What are you talking about? He's not
I'm gonna
80.
check right now. Harrison Ford.
He's like
Harrison Ford is
67.
Harrison Ford is 78.
No, are you joking?
No, I'm
Is
serious.
he?
78. So I think by the time this movie comes out, this Indiana Jones 5 is going to come out, and an 80-year-old man is going to be the star of it.
Well, I guess it's going to be like, maybe just working at the university.
But then it's how is it going to be
Harrison
a
Ford
fun
is...
Indiana Jones movie?
I have no idea. I can't believe he's 78. That is insane.
Yeah, so I'm concerned. But I don't know, maybe it'll be good. Who knows? Either way, what's your number 2?
The important thing is that Shia LaBeouf is not in it.
Well, that's always important, that he's nowhere near anything I'm watching. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah. My number 2. My number 2 is a film that I watched with you. My number 2 is a 2017 thriller. Is it a thriller, horror thriller?
There you tell me.
I think. And directed by Jordan Peele, and the film is called Get Out.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoy this film. You forced me to watch it because I didn't want to watch it. I was like, I'm not watching this, and I think is amazing. Is a really, really good film, and it stars Daniel Kaluuya as Chris and Alison Williams as his girlfriend Rose. They go somewhere in the countryside of America. Where is it?
I don't know.
Somewhere. America's huge, but is somewhere to meet her parents, Rose's parents, who are played by Catherine Keener and Bradley Whitford, which I like both. They're very cool, both of them.
They are.
And at the beginning, you're a bit spooked out because they're being overly accommodating in a weird kind of trying to be non-racist way, but being overly too much.
Yeah.
And you kind of feel that maybe that is because they are trying to be as accommodating as possible to say that they're accepting the interracial relationship with their daughter. But then there's a few characters that you're a bit freaked out about. Some of the people that work for their mother and father, who also seem to be black but don't speak. And you go, why are you not speaking? And they seem to be dressed in a very old school way.
Yeah.
And then there's you find out why what is there that all of this is not what it seems. What you know is not what it seems. And this family does some weird stuff to be able to keep alive.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Yeah.
I think it's a great film because it just is like peeling an orange in a way. You learn a little bit more the more you go on, and I love Alison Williams in it because I think she's amazing. Like she's so different at the beginning of the film, and she's the girlfriend,
Yeah,
Rose.
she is really good in it. She doesn't get enough recognition almost for how good she is in it.
No, and I think she's incredible in it because at the beginning she's a completely different character, and then at the end she just becomes a kind of robot. There's a weird, childish robot.
There's a turn, isn't there, in one
Very
scene in particular that's so good, and she plays
yeah.
it perfectly.
I think she's really, really good. And then Daniel Kaluuya is amazing in
Oh,
it.
yes.
The scene where he can't move that's iconic. Is even in the poster. It's just amazing. And his house, is it his housemate? Lil Rel Hori. I can't say it.
I don't know if it's his housemate, but it's like his best friend.
Is his friend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who is in that Moonlight video you showed me?
Yeah, he's in that, and he's fun.
He's great. He's really, really good at it.
It's just like the comedy part of it, and I just think it's a really really good film, and it's a good thriller because if you don't know anything about the film, you don't expect what's going to happen, and the acting is amazing in it, and I think it's really, really good.
Yeah, there's some incredibly
You showed
tense
me, so you
scenes.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's the kind of film that really rewards watching like a few times because there's always, once you know what's happening, when you watch it a second time, there's so many bits and pieces. Like right from the very, very start, there's so many bits and pieces that you can pick up on and understand what's going on. And it's great.
Oh, okay. Maybe I should watch it again
Yeah,
because I really
sure.
enjoyed it watching
Like
with you.
there's a bit
and,
early on where they're traveling now together in the car. Him and Daniel Kaluuya and Alison. What's her name?
Alison Williams.
Alison Williams, and they get stopped by the police, and the policeman asks Daniel
Yeah.
Kaluuya for his ID, and she
Yeah.
causes a fuss about it, and you think it's because she's accusing the policeman of being racist.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when you've seen the film, you know that there's a different reason why she doesn't want the policeman to get his ID. Because she doesn't want there to be any record of him having been in the area officially.
Yeah. I didn't think about that. Oh,
So there's like all
yeah.
throughout the movie, there's so many, like just about, it's such, and it won best screenplay at the Oscars because it is this
Yeah.
good. Almost every line in the film has a double meaning to it.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah, because then
genius.
after you realize what the intent is, then you realize that a lot of stuff is kind of it's a brilliant film.
Yeah, it is. It's a good
Yeah.
pick. I support it wholeheartedly.
What's your number 2?
So my number 2 is a 2007 American historical thriller.
Oh.
Directed by David Fincher. And starring, and get ready for this cast, because oh my word. Jake Gyllenhaal, Mark Ruffalo, Robert Downey Jr., Anthony Edwards, Brian Cox, Elias Koteas, Donal Logue, John Carroll Lynch, Chloe Sevigny, Philip Baker Hall, and Dermot Mulroney. Like an incredible list of like brilliant character actors. It is the perfect film, Zodiac.
Zodiac. Yes.
David Fincher's David Fincher's version of a serial killer film where the focus is not so much on the serial killer as in examining how the actions of this serial killer affect the lives of people who are investigating it, and again, similar to Black Swan, it looks at obsession and how obsessing over these mysteries can affect somebody's life, and it is. I just love it. I love it. It spans a huge amount of time. The director's cut is about 3 hours long, and it's just 3 hours of like perfect cinema. He creates like 1970s San Francisco perfectly, and 1960s San Francisco as well, absolutely perfectly. It sort of centers around Robert Graysmith, who's a cartoonist at the San Francisco Chronicle, I think the newspaper is called, and he deciphers, and the Zodiac Killer is murdering people in the area. This is a real event that happened. He was sending coded messages to the newspapers, and Jake Gyllenhaal's character was able to decipher part of the message and became obsessed with trying to find out who the Zodiac is. And in real life, to this day, nobody knows who the Zodiac Killer is. So you kind of going in that there were going to be no easy answers. In the film, Robert Downey Jr. plays Paul Avery, a reporter at the paper who became involved in the case, and Mark Ruffalo plays Dave Toshi, a policeman who was investigating it. And the film really just kind of shows the three of them and how it affects their lives. John Carroll Lynch is incredibly memorable as Arthur Lee Allen, one of the suspects who kind of is historically known, I think, as the most likely suspect as having done it. And he puts in this incredible, he's only in a handful of scenes, but he's so unsettling and so not even sinister, because you don't know if he is or isn't the killer, but he's really, really good in it, in the couple of scenes he gets. And yeah, I love this movie so much. Just as a world to live in for 3 hours, it's such a good film. And only David Fincher could make a historical thriller with no clear answers in it that is compelling for the entire runtime. So yeah, I love Zodiac. Have you seen Zodiac?
No. I would like to.
You should watch it.
Maybe.
It's very, very good.
Nice. I like it. I thought you were talking about Nightcrawler.
No, Nightcrawler's a great movie. It's on my honorable mentions.
Because I've like every list I've seen, I was like, they had Nightcrawler, and I really want to watch Nightcrawler.
Yeah, Nightcrawler's really good. You should check it out.
Yeah. Okay. Because they're just saying every list is like Nightcrawler. It's like, oh, I just need to watch that.
You do. I love it.
Yeah. So, my number one.
Your number one.
My number one is another 2000. It's like the year before Get Out, 2016, and it's Korean, erotic, psychological thriller. And I know we've talked about it before, but I think this film is amazing. And I'm sure we have it in a list somewhere. Have we got it in a list somewhere?
I think it was in my top 5 international films.
Okay, but I'm going to put in my top 5 thrillers.
Okay.
Maybe we could talk about it again. And it's the South Korean erotic psychological thriller film directed by Park Chang-wook, and it's called The Handmaiden.
The Handmaid.
The Handmaiden. I love this film. I think it's a great thriller. I think it's got all the twists and turns a thriller should have, and it's beautifully shot. So basically, with the help of she was a pickpocket, a con man, devises a plan to seduce seduce? Well, yeah. Seduce? That could be a word. Seduce?
Seduce is definitely a word.
A Japanese woman who is very rich out of her inheritance by being her handmaid. But, that's what it is, straightforward, but it is not really what happens at the end. So it's a classic thriller where you're not really sure who's playing who's with who, what is actually happening, who's against who, and it's beautiful. I love it, and it's surprising in a lot of parts. There's a scene with an octopus which was unexpected.
Yeah, man, that's a bizarre scene.
That's a bizarre scene. There's a very long sex scene. It's there's deceit, and it's amazing, and it's really amazingly shot. And that's what I also love about this film is how beautiful it looks and how it uses color, and it's just a great film, The Handmaiden, and is I think it's a great thriller.
Yeah, it's kind of fascinating because it's got like really, really, what's the word? Explicit sex scenes in it. It's got an incredibly weird stuff in it, like the octopus, and it probably it's probably all these things just make it a little bit too far outside the mainstream to be really, really big, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
But I feel like part of me almost feels like if Parasite had come out and then The Handmaiden had come out, The Handmaiden might have had more notice from people. Do you see what I mean? 'Cause
Yeah.
I feel like Parasite came along and people were suddenly like, "Oh, Korean cinema's great." Because Parasite is a brilliant movie.
Yeah.
But it's closer to what people expect from a mainstream thriller. Like, it hasn't necessarily got stuff in it that's quite as raunchy or strange and disturbing as you find in The
Yeah.
Handmaiden. But I feel like if that
Yeah.
had come out, it might have set people up better. Whereas The Handmaiden came out first, and it got really
Yeah.
good reviews and people liked it. And it's definitely not like a forgotten movie or anything. But it would be interesting to know what would have happened if Parasite had come out first and then The Handmaiden had come out, because it might have been. I bet it would have ended up being sold as like the next Parasite, and it might have gotten sort of
Yeah.
more recognition almost, because it deserves a lot of recognition. It is a masterpiece. I'm glad you've got it at your number one spot.
Yeah. Yeah, it is amazing. And I just love that until the end you're not really sure what's happening,
Yeah.
what the outcome is gonna be.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I love about thrillers, when it just kind of go, what? Eh? I think it's great. And it's got supernatural stuff, so it's not but it's not a horror.
Has it got supernatural stuff in it?
Well, the octopus, that's pretty supernatural, isn't it?
No, that's a real. You've never. That's a real animal, Alex.
Is it?
Yeah.
You can't keep an octopus in there, can you?
Well, okay, maybe not. I don't know if I'd quite describe it as supernatural, but fair enough. Okay.
But yeah, it's a good movie. If you haven't watched The Handmaiden, watch The Handmaiden.
Yeah,
It's so
definitely.
good.
And I'm sure in the UK it's on Netflix, I think. It's
Yeah.
readily available. If you haven't seen it, please watch it. It's so good.
And it's beautiful. It's just beautiful.
It is. It's a gorgeous piece of work. I love it. Well done. Good choice.
And we'll carry on talking about this film until we stop doing this podcast, because every few weeks, like, The Handmaiden, The Handmaiden.
Okay, so my number one.
Okay, yeah.
My number one is a 2011 British psychological thriller directed by Ben Wheatley, who I've talked about a few times. He was on my list of my favourite directors. I'm a big Ben Wheatley fan. This is not his first movie, but his first movie that I saw, Kill List. And it stars Neil Maskell, Maya Buring, and Michael Smiley. It's a film about a hitman who, or two hitmen really. Jay and Gal are two former soldiers who've become hitmen since they left the military. And the film is basically about Jay. He sort of is suffering from PTSD from something that happened to him when he was in the army that is always sort of kept quite mysterious. And he has a family, a wife and a young child. And the film is about a series of jobs that Jay and Gal go on together, where Jay is his morals are consistently challenged by the people he's being asked to kill. And it gets more and more intense and upsetting until it culminates in a final sequence that is so shocking and crazy that I'm not going to mention anything about it here. But suffice to say, the first time I watched this movie, I was completely floored by where it goes and the way it ends. It is mad. And I watched it with my brother and my mum, and I was not expecting to watch that kind of film. It's incredible. It's quite violent in parts. It feels like a really gritty, grimy, low-budget British thriller. There's a scene where he kills somebody with a hammer, which is just really, really grim. But yeah, and then the way and it kind of twists itself. It becomes sort of, it starts off as one thing, and and I'm not even going to invoke. It turns into a spin quite similar to another film, and I'm not going to name what that film is because it would ruin everything. But it sort of turns and twists and becomes something different to what you expect it to be. It's so tightly written and scripted. There's a few incredible scenes. There's a dinner party scene early on that kind of erupts into drama in a way that feels almost like you're watching a soap opera. Like, it feels really kind of real. And it's just, it's great. Kill List is probably a movie that far too few people have seen. and it's definitely not for everyone. It's quite slow paced in parts, but I think it's great, and I think that people should try it and see if it's for them, because it is. If you like it, it's going to stick with you for a long time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah. You haven't seen it? I
No, I don't think so. No.
the list is.
I saw it on a list today, and I was wondering if I had seen it because it had a familiar title, but I think you have spoken
I've
about
talked
it
about
before.
the list before. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, have I seen this film? It was a bit like Fargo. I was like, have I seen it? No, I don't think so. Yeah. Nice, Sue.
Yeah, nice. Okay, do you want to go through your list one more time?
Yeah. Number 5, The Talented Mr. Ripley. Number 4, Double Indemnity. Number 3, Memento. Number 2, Get Out. And number 1, The Handmaiden.
Nice. My list was number 5, The Bird of the Crystal Plumage. Number 4, Black Swan. Number 3, The Fugitive. Number 2, Zodiac. And number 1, Kill List.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah, thank you.
So, honorable mentions?
Please.
My honorable mentions: 7, Source Code, Gone Girl, Drive. You've seen Drive?
Oh, yeah. I like Drive.
Yeah. The Maltese Falcon, which is another noir film that I enjoyed. The Untouchables, which,
The Kevin Costner film.
Yeah, I love that film. That's more like a nostalgic kind of pick.
Yeah.
It's not a great film, but I used to be in love with the Kevin Costner. Leon with Vincent Cassel. No, it's not Vincent Cassel.
John Reno.
John Reno and Natalie as young Natalie Portman.
Yeah, and Gary Oldman. Don't forget Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman. Primal Fear.
Oh.
Which is I nearly went in my list, but I haven't seen it for a very long time. So I thought
talked about that
maybe
on an episode, didn't I? Because I watched that recently.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a great movie.
It's so good. LA Confidential, not on my list because of Kevin Spacey.
Fair enough. What did I? I took 7 off
Room.
my list actually. Yeah, because of him.
Room, with Brie Larson.
Oh, okay.
Fargo.
Yeah.
Fargo has become one, and Sleepers.
Awesome. Nice. Okay, I've got some honorable mentions as well. I think you've named some of them, but Prisoners, Denis Villeneuve, Hugh Jackman, Jake Gyllenhaal movie, great film. Chinatown.
Did I say Sicario?
No, you didn't.
Yeah, Sicario is in it.
Oh, nice. I'm glad. Have you seen Chinatown?
No.
Chinatown was really nearly in my top 5 because it is a perfect film, but it got quite tough, and then ultimately Roman Polanski being a sex pest made me take it off. But it is, if you haven't seen Chinatown, please watch it. It's so good. Parasite, of course. The Vanishing, a great Dutch thriller that's just wonderful. Old Boy, another Park Chan-wook movie, I think. Jaws, 7. You mentioned Nightcrawler. That you definitely should watch Nightcrawler. Jake Gyllenhaal is. I can't. The man is just the best. Anyway, Prevenge, the Alice Lowe movie that I think is a masterpiece and more people should watch. Blowout, an old John Travolta, Brian De Palma movie, wonderful stuff. Drive that you mentioned. Searching, a film that takes place entirely on somebody's laptop screen. An incredible thriller. The Handmaiden, which you mentioned. Uncut Gems, Adam Sandler's one great film. U.S. Marshals, I mentioned before. Get Out, it was your number 1. Green Room, The Running Man, Heat, The Guest, Halloween, The Terminator, American Psycho, The Silence of the Lambs, Fargo, Sicario, Caliber, Killer Joe, Thoroughbreds. That's an Anya Taylor-Joy movie that you should watch.
Okay.
Thoroughbreds is great. Revenge, Gerald's Game, Split, another Anya Taylor-Joy movie. The Invitation, Rear Window, Battle Royale, Vertigo, Run, I Care a Lot, Red Dot, Bay of Blood, Primal Fear, I See You, Wolf Creek, The Invisible Man, Mother, Snake Eyes, Possum, Push, The Gift, Now You See Me, Shutter Island, The Prestige, Memento, Gone Girl, and Duel.
Did I say Gone Girl?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I forgot about Parasite and Battle Royale and a few that you mentioned, but you mentioned them, which is good.
Yeah. But I mean, Battle Royale.
I don't
Is
know.
Battle Royale a thriller? I guess it is, isn't it? Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. When we can mention Battle Royale, we can just go for it. Battle Royale.
I've got a 4K Blu-ray copy of Battle Royale and arriving this week, so I'll be talking about that next week because I'm sure I'll watch it.
Awesome.
Yeah. Look out for some shots of it on our Instagram, although they'll already be on there by the time you hear this. So go and check out our Instagram to see the beautiful Arrow special edition release of Battle Royale because it's pretty good.
Yeah.
So, homework.
Okay.
What are you setting me?
So I think the only one that you haven't watched is Double Indemnity.
I haven't really seen The Tide of Mr. Ripley either, but you can pick which one to
Okay,
give me.
so you could watch The Time to Mr. Ripley or Double Indemnity.
I'll go with Double Indemnity, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you might enjoy it. It's a good time, and I don't think it's very long either. It's just a good time. Yeah. Oh, sweet chicks, come here. Oh, you want me to go your vibe? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that's what you're gonna have.
Check it out.
It's good.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Oh man, so you could watch either The Bird of the Crystal Plumage, Black Swan, Zodiac, or Kill List. What would you lean towards out of those?
Black Swan and Kill List I would like to watch.
Okay, check out Kill List then.
Okay.
Because that's my number one pick.
Okay.
See what you think of a Ben Wheatley movie.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Kill List.
Kill List.
Good times.
Awesome. Although, well, no, you should be able to watch it. If you happen to find that it's really difficult to get hold of for some reason because it's a bit of a smaller film, then Black Swan is acceptable. But Kill List is the main one if you can watch it.
Okay.
So if you could recommend something from Culture Catch Up this week, what would you recommend?
Okay, so I would recommend Tash Sultana, the album Terra Firma, and also I would recommend the book Queenie by Candice Carty Williams. I think is a good book to read.
Nice.
What would you recommend?
So I would recommend Sputnik, the Russian sci-fi movie I watched. It's awesome. Please check it out. Noroi, The Curse, genuinely what became one of my favourite horror movies after watching it. That's a massive 5-star recommendation. I think that movie is incredible. You should watch it, Alex, and see what you think. The Japanese film. But it's, it's you like a found footage. You like the Blair Witch.
Yeah, well, it's not that I like. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't
know.
No,
The Curse is so good. It's just so good. I think you'd find it interesting. Anyway, maybe next time we're together, I'll make you watch it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then that new Godspeed You Black Emperor album is really, really good. Please check it out. It's great. I've got tickets to see them next January. I can't wait to go to gigs again. I'm really just pumped.
Just doesn't even feel real that we could ever do that again. Like, I feel like this is it. This is life.
No. I will be going to gigs. I will be seeing Godspeed You Black Emperor. I'm going to have the best. Do you know they have, I think 2 members of the band, their entire job is to find, black and white old film clips to play on during live shows.
I want that to be my job.
They're great. They're like they don't have any lyrics in their music, but they're like big time anarchists, like really, really political, hardcore, left wing kind of people. I like them a lot. Godspeed You Black Emperor. Okay, that's all awesome stuff. Please join us next week we're going to do another episode on genre, film genre, but this time we're going to go a bit lighthearted and we're going to go top 5 romantic comedies. Oh, lovely stuff. I can already picture my number 1 and I'm excited to talk about it.
Oh, okay.
But not now.
Can't. Not now.
Today. Okay, cool. So thank you for joining us, everyone. Please go and, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, find us on social media. Look us up on Instagram, and all links to our social media channels can be found in the show notes for this and every episode, as can links to everything we discussed in Culture Catch-Up and to the YouTube videos we talked about in MyTube. So feel free to go and check those out and let us know what you think. Our email address is also there. Please email us with any top fives you have, any comments you have about what we've been talking about. We'd love to read out some of your messages. It would be really good. So please get in touch and email us, message us, contact us. Loads of ways to get in touch. And join us next week. It's been a pleasure as always. Love you very much.
Thank you. Bye.